the University of Kansas, a great place to build a first-class academic department. Students come from throughout the world to pursue their education at the University of Kansas. They leave the University of Kansas confident in their abilities to be successful and to make a difference. They also leave knowing that wherever they go, they are amongst the Jayhawk Nation, and there is a professional community awaiting them. This is also true for those who come to the University of Kansas to study special education. Our graduates have a legacy of making a difference in teaching, research, leadership, public service, and in contributing to a knowledge base that knows no cultural bounds. Some return to the University of Kansas as professors and researchers because the University of Kansas is a great place to be. What makes KU a special place is well known by all who have shared the experience of being a student at the University of Kansas. They are Jayhawks for life. Their memories of Mount Oriad are forever with them. But what makes a world-class academic department at a public university in the middle of the country? Why do the best of faculty come to the University of Kansas to pursue their careers in special education? What keeps them here? Why are they so well known in their profession? Why do students from all over the world come to the University of Kansas to study in special education? There is no simple answer, but there is an answer.
The culture of this university has really provided the conditions that I think are essential to building the kind of quality program in special education. Those who pioneered work with children and youth with disabilities, as well as their families, had a vision, and it happened to be here at a time when the leadership at KU was inclined to share that vision, as well as to provide the kind of nurturing environment which I don't think existed at other institutions throughout the country.
By the 1970s, over 1/3 of all sponsored research dollars coming into the University of Kansas was in support of some aspect of meeting the needs of the disability community. The interdisciplinary focus on disability was clearly established. The Department of Special Education was becoming a significant graduate program with the capacity for national leadership. The Bureau of Child Research, and within it the Juniper Gardens Children's Project, were significant research partners. Like all graduate programs, the Special Education Department was faced with many needs that were difficult to fulfill during an era of unprecedented growth in public universities. While some needs would go unmet for a few years, the interdisciplinary focus of the university on disability was moving forward. It was during this era that the federal initiative in university-affiliated facilities was implemented, and KU successfully competed for grants that resulted in building the expansion of Haworth Hall on the Lawrence campus, the Herbert C. Miller Building at the Medical Center, and a facility at Parsons State Hospital and School, all committed to housing programs related to disability. The Special Education Department, along with other programs committed to the study of disability, moved into Haworth Hall on the Lawrence campus and into the Herbert C. Miller Building at the Medical Center. Over the next 10 years, the Center for Research on Learning and later the Beach Center on Families and Disabilities emerged as significant contributors to the interdisciplinary mission on behalf of individuals with disabilities and their families, and productivity took another step forward. By the early 1980s, shortly after Gene Budig arrived as the new chancellor, it was becoming apparent that if the department was to reach its potential, a number of things needed to be achieved. Some would be costly, others were rather intangible, but equally important. It was a time in which most special education faculty members were in their mid-careers, with aspirations and marketable resumes. They were where they needed to be in terms of initiating research programs and demonstrating teaching skills. It was not a time of discouragement or complacency on the part of faculty. It was a time of readiness for what needed to be done and what was about to come.
But it was also evident to many, including Jean Budig, our new chancellor, that there was an element of vulnerability that focused on faculty understanding their value to this university, to KU, and the expectations in which the department was held. Special ed was not alone, however. There were other departments in the same situation.
This was no small challenge for a new chancellor facing an historic capital campaign. But something woven into his administrative style was also clear. As a Midwesterner, he quickly embraced the culture of the university, and with his unobtrusive and quick study manner, began the process of understanding the academic strengths and needs of the campus. The interdisciplinary array of academic and research programs centering on the study of disability quickly became evident to him. The Department of Special Education was central to the observation that this collection of programs had established a valuable legacy that had stood the test of time. Most of the key researchers and faculty who contributed to building the programs were still here, along with a very strong and complementary group of well-established younger colleagues. It was apparent that in this changing world, the significance of their work was still ahead of them.
What began to occur was more dialogue with central administration on discussions and responsiveness to inquiries from the several interdisciplinary departments on campus, including the Department of Special Education. There's no startling increase in resources, but there was a growing sense that needs were known, and this translated into confidence in the future. Faculty continued their good work, and the department soon realized its first #1 national ranking. This was a significant achievement, but most importantly, it represented the achievement of an institutional environment where the interdisciplinary and collaborative focus was systemic and would bode well for sustaining such recognition in the future.
As the space needs for interdisciplinary programs returned and intensified, Chancellor Budig sought consultation from Senator Bob Dole on how best to meet the needs of this national resource of programs so important to the disability community.
And I'll be very honest, I'm very reluctant to get into special interest types of legislation. But it seemed to me that this was an area where KU was far out in front, became a national leader long before I became involved in this idea. So I'm simply the instrument. I didn't do anything. You've been doing it here for years, or it wouldn't have happened.
The result was a partnership, and on August 25, 1990, the Dole Human Development Center was dedicated as the new home for the Departments of Special Education, Human Development and Family Life, Speech, Language, and Hearing, the Center for Research on Learning, and the Schiefelbusch Lifespan Institute. This opened additional space for the Beach Center on Families and Disability in Hayworth Hall. For the first time, a wide array of programs serving the disability community through teaching and research were housed together. This also meant more students, more work in communities and schools, expanded research, and continued momentum. A major outcome was unprecedented growth in research productivity, which continues today. Just 10 years later, the good news of growth again spawned an increased need for space. These needs were not unique to the Department of Special Education, as there were space needs all across the campus. There were aspirations for every building site on campus from several departments and professional schools. A decision was made to renovate and convert the Joseph R. Pearson Residence Hall into a new state-of-the-art home for the School of Education. In the year 2000, the School of Education made the move, along with Special Education and the Center for Research on Learning, to a new home.
Now, this move separated special education from many of the collaborative relationships that we had formed with interdisciplinary groups. However, it brought the department into much closer contact in the same physical setting as our other colleagues in the School of Education. And this was at a time when it was extremely important for us to do that.
Today, the academic and research programs in special education continue to grow as they address emerging national and international needs. A team of colleagues in special education was recently awarded the largest grant in the history of the University of Kansas. With increased productivity comes space needs. The cycle continues. The development of world-class academic departments does not just happen. They happen because people join together over time to make them happen. Institutional leadership makes the difference. Chancellor Budig, along with other chancellors throughout the history of the University of Kansas, played a major role in building a culture supportive of interdisciplinary approaches to developing and sustaining high-quality academic and research programs.
When you also have faculty who are committed to a cause, in our case, it's the quality of life of students with disabilities and their families, then you have just the right mix. As faculty thrive, students are attracted, and then goals are achieved. You know, the challenge really becomes sustaining the conditions to retain faculty and keep them challenged.
The conditions essential to faculty engagement and retention were well known to Jean and Gretchen Budig. On the occasion of their accepting a new challenge, the Kansas University Endowment Association created an endowed teaching professorship in the School of Education. The uniqueness of the professorship was that it was to be awarded annually, in contrast to the more traditional professorship awarded to an individual for life. In 2002, Jean and Gretchen chose to create the Budig Teaching Professorship in Special Education and continued the focus on an annual award to faculty. In 2002, the first Budig Teaching Professorship in Special Education was awarded. The significance of the teaching professorship has been, and continues to be, the meaning it brings to the faculty in special education at the University of Kansas, where teaching is valued, faculty are recognized, and students succeed. As faculty retire, the culture is here to recruit the best next generation of faculty. The culture builds. What we see today at the University of Kansas is a level of academic maturity in the special education department that only comes with the right institutional culture, a committed faculty, and friends like Jean and Gretchen Budig.